to it.
Wolfman's got nards.
Nobody trusts anybody now.
Come on, you hey! You want to live forever?
Now what?
But no matter what happens, Godzilla will win.
And welcome back to the 72nd episode of the Monster Movie Stompdown. Of course, you got Sludge here, my co-host across from me.
He is Mark.
Our brother from Texas.
Ruben.
And we have made it to the end of the line, temporarily, for the Godzilla films. We started this show, first episode was the original Godzilla movie, and we've given 2 episodes a month, sometimes 3, but we've always given a Godzilla film and then some other monster movies, and we've gone through the whole plethora, the whole library of Godzilla feature films, and we have reached the current stopping point with Godzilla versus Kong. Pretty excited about it. And it's been a good week for kaiju fans. I don't know if you guys saw, I know I shared with, I think I did tell you guys, the Kaiju Masterclass was this last weekend. Did you guys get to watch any of that?
I did not get to.
Did you, Ruben?
No, not yet. No, I did not.
Now, did you guys watch last year's? Or do you even know what Kaiju Masterclass is?
I have no idea, so go ahead and spit it out.
Same here. I did not watch last year's either.
Kaiju Masterclass is a group from a couple podcasts, and then the one guy who heads up Kaiju Masterclass, he's like working on his literature PhD at some major Ivy League school, but he's a major Kaiju fan. So they did last year, when all the conventions were shut down, they did Kaiju Masterclass, where they did a bunch of panels, pretty much just like convention style panels with. I mean, last year,
I remember that.
Remember here?
I remember that. Yeah, I do. I just didn't. I didn't remember the name, but I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember when the conventions were canceled, and they got together.
Shishuki Kaneko was on there last year. So I mean, the director of GMK and the Gamera Heisei trilogy, he was on there. A bunch of guys. This year, they had Ryuya Kitamura was on there. They did a really cool retrospective of Gorgo. That was really, really awesome. So they had a bunch of cool stuff this weekend. And so those listening who haven't checked it out, go to YouTube, search Kaiju Masterclass 2, and you'll see all the panels from this year. Of course, the first Kaiju Masterclass was last year. Super cool thing. They're going to keep doing every year. I made sure and checked out the Ryuya Kitamura one. He did Godzilla Final Wars. But he's one of my favorite directors anyways, because he did a movie back in 2000 called Versus, which is it is in my top 10 greatest films of all time, if not top 5. But he's done Azumi. He did Alive. He came over here to his first American film was Midnight Meat Train, the Clive Barker movie. He's done No One Lives with Luke Evans. He's just did a movie a couple years ago called Downrange that was absolutely insane. Great filmmaker. And he had some really cool things to say about Final Wars. One thing that I found interesting, though, that I didn't know about these movies was the films is not, per their tradition in Japanese filmmaking, the actual film directors is not who films the monster fight scenes. They have a separate director that handles those alone. And Ryuya talked about the one thing that if he could go back and change would be the ability to direct those scenes himself, because the director, and he praised the director for the monster fights, but he said he just didn't catch his feel and his image for those fight scenes.
His vision. Yeah.
He would storyboard everything out in detail, but the guy just never really shot those the way that they wanted. And then one cool thing he brought up with the 98 scene, and because they were talking, him and Toriyama at Toho sound with, like, they said tons of the soft tubby figures, like the little Bandai figures of like the entire Godzilla legacy of monsters, like every monster that's appeared in a Godzilla film. And they were looking at these figures and picking out what ones would make it into the movie. And he regrets not putting Mechagodzilla in there, but they started talking, and Toriyama was like, well, we can do the 98 Godzilla because we own the rights to it. And so Ryo was like, oh, then yes, we have to put that in there so we can cement who the real Godzilla is. So when he found out, because they were picking monsters, he was like, that has to be done. So it was really cool, the things he said that happened as far as them making the movie, how things were done, the suits, the fighting, just the direction was really, really cool. because it was a 17-year retrospect. Came out 17 years ago. So definitely check it out. It was really, really cool thing to do. So, but going from that Godzilla movie, we are going to Godzilla versus Kong, which I'm super, super stoked about, because this not only wraps up our run of Godzilla movies, this wraps up the current MonsterVerse lineup. There's talks, of course, of future movies possibly happening. I think the last thing we heard was in August, I think, when Thomas Toll said they're on it, seeing what can be done. But we'll get more, but currently this is the end. So pretty excited about this one. Plus, Mark got a new chair today. Y'all hear him gripe and complain about this chair.
New to Mark.
Very,
new to Mark.
I believe originally that he took it to Goodwill, and Goodwill said, "No thanks, take it back home."
I was about to say that. I was say Goodwill saw it and said, "You know what? This is a safety hazard. Get it out of here."
so pretty much, I got a new chair and then passed my chair on to Mark, because he's complained about the chairs since the get-go.
I've had good reason, and now I got even more of a reason.
Why? You got a comfortable chair.
Yeah, don't lean back.
yeah. So this chair that Mark got is my old office chair, and it doesn't stop. So like you can't lean back in it, because if you do, you just keep on going. Like
and does he tell me about it before I sit down? No, he lets me lean back.
I had to. Even my wife earlier, when I was setting up, she was like, "Are you going to tell your dad that chair doesn't set up straight? It just leans back all the way?" I was like, "No, not at all."
He didn't.
I want to see what happens, because that's how we roll here.
I want my old chair back.
Oh, it's over there. If you want to switch. But all right, so guys, we're going to jump into this one. It's Godzilla versus Kong. Here you go.
This is our only chance. We have to take it. We need Kong. The world needs him to stop what's coming. And this child, she's the only one he'll communicate with.
I knew that they had a bond. She had nowhere to go, so I made a promise to protect her. And I think that in some way, Kong did the same. Godzilla.
These are dangerous times.
Godzilla's out there and he's hurting people, and we don't know why.
There's something provoking him that we're not seeing here.
I'm of the same opinion.
The myths are real. There was a war. And they're the last ones standing.
I keep reaching for greatness because I'm built from it.
Who bows to who?
Nobody gonna stop me.
Kong bows to no one.
This is Charlie with Give Me Back My Action Movies.
And Dan.
Join us every 2 weeks as we dive into the classic action movies of the 80s and 90s.
That's right, Charlie. But we also take a look at some of the current films out there that still has those nostalgic feels for us.
Exactly. So make sure you find us on all your major podcasting platforms.
And check us out over on Facebook. We have a group where the conversation's always going 24/7.
We're having a good time.
I think so.
I'll be back.
Welcome to Good Beer, Bad Movie Night, where each month we drink finely crafted brews while watching terrible films in order to see just how drunk you have to get to enjoy them. So tune in and join Troy.
Kilroy Kreitz.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Thank you.
Dave.
I have the weirdest
and Pete.
IPAs are ales, meaning they are bottom fermented. Excuse me, they are top fermented. I that up. Try that again.
As we drag Kathleen.
Hear me.
Kicking and screaming through an alcohol-fueled podcast dedicated to movies of questionable quality and the frosty adult beverages that help make them tolerable. Good Beer, Bad Movie Night. Clearly, it's the beer's fault.
Okay, and so that was the trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong. Of course, you got some commercials there for our brothers over at the Giving Back My Action Movie podcast, the whole network. Again, if you guys have not joined any of the groups, find us on Facebook. You can find all of us through Giving Back My Podcast Network, because we now have grouped together the Giving Back My Action Movie show, Giving Back My Horror Movies, the Monster Movie Stompdown, the Jacked Up Review Show. You got Jimmy's shows on there, and then, of course, Pete and his crew from Good Beer, Bad Movie Night, which I just found a movie. I know we're getting the Godzilla vs. Kong here, but I text Pete the other day. This was maybe 2 days ago. I saw a movie pop up called New York Ninja, and the poster just looked outlandish. And I was like, what is this? So I go to search for the trailer on YouTube, and this looks like one of the worst movies of all time. I already got it. I already had to pick the movie up.
Jeez.
And I cannot wait to watch this. So it's a movie it was filmed in 1984. Okay. And
there's a plus right there.
Oh yeah. It was lost. It never got edited and put together, but the whole film was shot. Well, Vinegar, was Vinegar Films or what? It's Vinegar something. They found it in a film vault. And it's just the negative film. So there's no audio. There's no voicing, nothing. It's just the movie. It's the video itself. So they edited the movie together, and then they hired people like Don the Dragon Wilson or Johnson's in it. Michael Berryman, the guy from Hills Has Eyes and House of 1,000 Corpses. Yeah. So they hired all these people to overdub and make this movie. Okay, so who knows what they were saying in the actual film, right? But so they made this movie. They just put new music to it and overdubbed it, and the trailer looked absolutely so bad. It looks horribly bad. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, I got to send this to Pete. Pete has got to put this on Good Beer, Bad Movie Night because it would be epic. Kathleen will hate everybody, guaranteed. She would despise this movie, but it'll be great. So I don't even remember where I was going there. Yes, so our friends, go check us out on Facebook. I got so
bad you lost his train of thought.
I did. That's how bad it is. I'm so excited for it. But definitely go on Facebook. We've all got our individual groups, but of course we got the main hub, Giving Back my podcast network, and listen to everybody's shows. Man, everybody's putting out great material. We just everybody on the network put out a great Halloween episode, minus Pete and Good Beer, Bad Movie Night. They had some technical issues, but we still love them. And
did that have anything to do with the game that you sent him?
No, it did not.
Right,
so
yeah.
It was not me.
Yeah.
It was not me.
Yeah. Sabotage.
If it was me, I would have, Pete would have let me know. But no, it was not me. But they're fixing to put out a really good episode. I'm stoked about the next movie that they're fixing to put out. So go check everybody out. Join all the groups. Talk to us. We love that. Now we're going to jump into the movie. So Godzilla vs. Kong. This came out, a few months ago, actually.
Yeah.
So this is that fresh of a film. Godzilla vs. Kong. Of course,
this was the first movie I saw after they lifted COVID restrictions. It was like the first major movie release.
Yeah, because it was supposed to come out last year. But of course, with COVID, got pushed back, and it did phenomenal in the box office. They actually, every news article you saw when Kong came out, because it came out, it was one of the first ones that came out with the dual releases that's happening now. So where you see it in theater, or you can watch it, stream it from home on like HBO Max. This was HBO Max's first big thing that they did. and it did phenomenal both sides. It's actually the 6th highest grossing film of the year. It had like $155 to $200 million, but it ended up grossing just box office numbers because we still haven't figured out how to tally up the live stream numbers as far as money. But box office, this movie did $467 million. So super, super successful. I mean, people flooded back to the box office to see this. I know I went 3 times. I know I went at least twice to see this on the big screen.
Twice on here. Yeah, once with Cindy and then once with RJ, I think.
Yeah, because I know we all went
twice.
Yeah.
Because I know the day it came out, I think I watched it 3 times the day it came out. I was so stoked for this. But I mean, so we've all seen it a handful of times.
I think you're right because we did didn't we do a quick review right after?
Yes,
we did.
We did.
Yeah. I remember that.
So it came out and just did great. And all the news articles were like, Godzilla versus Kong saves the box office. I mean, it did. It brought people back to the movies. This movie that's what it's going to be known for from now on. This was the movie that brought people to the theater for the theater experience. It did extremely well at the box office on live stream or the streaming services. HBO reported in the first 17 days of it being on there was 5.6 million views of the movie. So it did phenomenal on HBO Max and is the 2nd highest opening movie hot. It just barely got surpassed by Mortal Kombat, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's right. But so anyway, so this movie was supposed to have come out in 2020, came out March of 2021, and this was the tentative end to the MonsterVerse. So everything has so far with Godzilla, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, has been leading up to this moment where we get, the big climactic fight between Godzilla and Kong, the 2 biggest monsters of all time, without a doubt. This one was directed by Adam Wingard. Of course, Michael Dougherty directed the last film, but Michael Dougherty helped write this movie, so he had a big part in this movie as well. But Adam Wingard, who's done Death Note, he did, was it Blair Witch Project? Did he do the new Blair Witch Project? I think
the new one. Yeah. The new one, yeah.
And of course, he did You're Next, which is a phenomenal horror movie. So a really good director, a big Godzilla fan. He actually, like Michael Dougherty, went back and watched like the entire library of Godzilla films before he started shooting this movie. And then we got a lot of familiar faces that returned. Millie Bobby Brown came back. Kyle Chandler came back for this movie. You got some new faces. Alexander Skarsgård's in it. Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, who's maybe arguably the best character in the movie. Then you've got what's her name, Haley Atwell. She plays a deaf girl in this movie. Phenomenal cast this time around. I mean, every time I think all the cast has been great so far.
Yeah. You know what? You're forgetting the most important of all characters in this movie.
Who am I forgetting?
Isa Gonzalez. That's who you're forgetting.
Oh, yes, right.
She is, a matter of fact, I will tell you, my stomp rating.
Kaylee Huddle, the way was
got extra points just because she's in this movie. Just because of that.
I had not even heard of her until this film. Like, I saw her and I was like, why do I know? She looks familiar.
Right there.
Look, see,
right there.
Ruben's got wallpaper on his iPad. But she's like a major Hispanic singer.
Yeah.
Right.
She's got, she's done some stuff and she's been around. And, as soon as I saw her, I'm like, my stomp rating just went up.
Extra point just for her. So
extra points, yeah.
But I want to correct. Kaylee Huddle is her name. She's actually a young deaf actress. She plays Gia in this movie, and she's kind of like Kong's best friend. She's an Iwi native from Kong Skull Island. So the movie's got a pretty simple premise. I mean, it picks up after the events of Godzilla King of the Monsters. If you haven't read the tie-in books, Godzilla Between King of the Monsters and Now has kind of put all the Titans in their place. But a major issue happened at Skull Island. Skull Island is now under a continuous torrential storm, which has caused them to have to build like a fake habitat for Kong. And Kong knows he's in a fake habitat, and he absolutely hates it. but they don't know what to do because they know the thing that's kept Kong safe from Godzilla is the fact that he's on Skull Island. For whatever reason, Skull Island has kind of kept Godzilla and Kong separate, and which is big because, again, this kind of ties in with the graphic novels, but you get it from the first, the end of King of the Monsters, and they talk about it here, of the ancient war that happened between the Kong species and the Godzilla species. In the Hollow Earth, so Kong can't stay in this habitat anymore. They know this, but they don't know what to do because of Godzilla's a problem. The moment he gets out of this habitat and off the island, Godzilla's going to come running for him. Well, while this is going on, Godzilla shows up out of nowhere after 5 years and attacks a facility in Pensacola, Florida, killing people because of this. And so Monarch's thrown in the flip of like, what's going on? Godzilla's now attacking mankind instead of protecting it, and so they have to figure out why. So you have two camps of characters in this movie. You got Alexander Skarsgård, his character Dr. Nathan Lynn, who you find out him and his brother were big leaders as far as the Hollow Earth theory. His brother actually died trying to get into the Hollow Earth. Him and then Rebecca Hall's character, Dr. Andrews, who is kind of Kong's overseer. She's the main scientist for Monarch who studies Kong, and then her adopted daughter, Gia, who is an Iwi native. They're kind of like the pro-Kong team. So they're trying to get Kong to Hollow Earth. Then on the flip side, you've got Godzilla and his team, Emma Russell, Kyle Chandler, Millie Bobby Brown, her character, she, and then the kid from Deadpool 2, I can never remember his name. What is that kid's name? He's in this. Anyways, he plays Josh, Julian Dennison. Okay, he plays Josh. He's Millie Bobby Brown's best friend. And then, of course, the introduction of Brian Tyree Henry, who plays Bernie, who's like a conspiracy theorist podcaster who's working for a company called Apex in this movie. And he believes that Apex is up to no good, which he's absolutely right. So Team Godzilla is, of course, Millie Bobby Brown, Julian, and then Brian Tyree Henry. And they're trying to find out what Apex is doing because they believe whatever Apex is up to is what's setting Godzilla off. So they go to get Kong. And Apex has reached out to Dr. Lin because they need power, a source of energy that can only be found in the Hollow Earth, which is the same energy that we find out pretty much runs Godzilla. It energizes him. And which is crazy because Godzilla's energy is the same energy that powers the planet. So at that moment, you're like, who's going to stand up to Godzilla? When you just made this revelation. So Apex has reached out to Dr. Lin to make it to Hollow Earth to find this energy source so that they can put mankind back on top as being the apex of the planet. What they don't know is Apex is hiding a secret in their facilities. But Dr. Lin signs up. They go to get Kong. They get Kong onto a ship and start heading to Antarctica, which is the main entrance that Monarch has found into the Hollow Earth. Of course, he's off the island. Godzilla knows, and the first battle ensues at the ocean sequence, and it's phenomenal. So Kong loses that one, big time. They got to play dead in order for, but it's got, it's at sea. How can Kong hold a chance against Godzilla? But they play dead, and so Godzilla swims off, thinking he's won, and goes back. He's kind of just doing his thing, protecting the planet, just going place to place. They get Kong to Hollow Earth, and as he goes into Hollow Earth, which is one of the most amazing things ever, and we'll talk about it, he finds a temple at the source of the power. That's coming that powers the energy that powers Hollow Earth, and he finds this axe. There's a bunch of axes, and this is clearly where his species lived. There's a massive throne that he sits on. Some really epically cool sequences here, and they find the energy source, and the energy source actually powers these weapons, these axes that the Kong species apparently had, and the axes are made from dorsal plates of a previous Godzilla or one of his species. Of course. Now, Ruben's heart in this movie, Isaac Gonzalez, who plays Simmons' daughter, Simmons, the guy who owns and runs Apex, she's down there, and she sends the sample of the energy source back to her dad. And, of course, at this point, you find out he needs the energy because he's built Mega Godzilla to take Godzilla down. She sends it back to him, and of course, they power up Mechagodzilla. When this happens, of course, Godzilla, again, like he does in the beginning of the movie, you find out they were powering up Mechagodzilla and testing things. That's what caused him to attack Pensacola, Florida. He turns around and heads straight to Hong Kong because he knows something's up. There's another alpha predator that's trying to take over. What we don't realize until we get into the Apex facility in Hong Kong is that it is being powered and controlled by the head of Ghidra, the brain of Ghidra from the head that Godzilla ripped off in King of the Monsters that Alan Jonah got at the end in the credit sequence. Yes. So Godzilla is recognizing Ghidra again. He realizes somehow Ghidra survived, and that's what he's after. And so he's instantly goes to Hong Kong to stop this. When he gets to Hong Kong, of course, is when they've tested the energy, and Godzilla realizes when Kong in the Hollow Earth puts the axe down and charges up the temple he's in, that someone or something is messing with the power source down there. And in just awesome Godzilla fashion, blows a hole straight through the earth right to Hollow Earth. I mean, just like it's nothing. And so Kong, while he's there, realizes what's happened. He shoots back up to the surface, and the final battle with Godzilla and Kong ensues there in Hong Kong. And it's epic on every freaking level possible. But Godzilla comes in on top, puts a hurting on Kong in this battle. Kong gets his chance. He gets his time or two there. But Kong falls ultimately to Godzilla being the victor. And once Godzilla realizes Kong's down, he starts heading towards the Apex facility. And at this point, Apex is fired, got Godzilla up with the new energy from the Hollow Earth, which now allows it to run at 100%, because the problem they were having is they're going to run at like 40% without it dying. But when this happens, Ghidra takes over full control of Mechagodzilla, ends up killing Simmons, breaks out of the facility, starts destroying Hong Kong, and then Godzilla and Mechagodzilla go straight head-to-head into a fight. And it's a pretty brutal fight, and it's very, very, very one-sided. Much like every other Mechagodzilla fight there has been, he puts a stomping on Godzilla. I mean, slamming him grabbing him by his head and just going building to building. Just, I mean, wearing him out. While this is happening, Gia and Lind and Rick Hawk's character, they come back up from Hollow Earth on what are those vehicles called? The Heaves. That's right. Hollow Earth aerial vehicle, whatever. So they come up through the hole Godzilla's made, and they land next to Kong, and Kong is out. He's just, his chest is ripped up, his arms ripped out of socket. He is beat to a pulp, and he is unconscious. Gia gets next to him and feels the ground and hears his heart slowing down. Kong's dying. He is knocking on death's door at this point from fighting Godzilla. Well, they end up coming up with an idea to use the heave to kind of jumpstart Kong's heart again, a la, King Kong Lives, and brings him back. Boom. I mean, he's all kind of good to go. And Gia explains to him, because they can talk to each other through sign language, that Godzilla is not the enemy, that Mechagodzilla is the true enemy. Of course, Kong seems a little abrasive about this. It's like, no, because him and Godzilla's gone toe to toe a few times. He just went
behind it. Yeah.
But he realizes, Gia tells him it's the truth, and Kong realizes. So right as Mechagodzilla's about to kind of give the final blow to Godzilla, same Muto style death. Like, he's got his mouth open, is about to blow the fire down in his throat and kill Godzilla. Kong comes out of nowhere, joins the battle, and it's probably the most epic action-packed sequence ever. These two going toe to toe against Mechagodzilla. They can't quite overcome him because he's so powerful. Because, I mean, it's ultimately Mechagodzilla and Ghidra in one. And they both keep getting their butts kicked, and then Kong grabs the axe, which is no longer powered up, and is trying to take Mechagodzilla down. Can't quite do it. The axe isn't cutting, and Godzilla sees what's going on. So in a last-ditch effort, Godzilla blows his radioactive breath right at the axe, powers it up, and gives it the juice it needs to take Mechagodzilla down. And Kong just dismembers Mechagodzilla in epic fashion. Rips his head off, and it's all said and done. Kong immediately drops down to a building because he is freaking whooped. He is wore out after what he's gone through. And then Godzilla gets back up, and then they have one more eye-to-eye. Kong grabs the axe, and he's almost ready for round 3. And Godzilla looks at him. Kong realizes. He drops the axe. They call a truce. Godzilla goes his way. And then the last thing you see is Kong now ruling dominant in Hollow Earth as the new king down there. So you got a king above, king below. Epic movie. Like this movie is absolutely insane from the word go. And this one was made very differently than the first. And that's what I love about the MonsterVerse trilogy. Each one's extremely different. You know what I mean? The first one was very, very reminiscent of the original Godzilla as far as the format, the story. I mean, Gareth kind of really paid most homage to the original film in Godzilla 2014. Michael Dougherty comes along with King of the Monsters, and it is just an absolute Showa era love letter film. Like for every monster fan that grew up, it is just pure heart in that movie, and you get everything you want out of the big four from Toho on screen, renovated, and just a love letter to the Showa, to Godzilla vs. Kong, which is the two greatest monsters in movie cinema of all time, going toe to toe in what's arguably a monster movie version of like Die Hard or Lethal Weapon. Just a straight up action movie. Nonstop. Because once it starts, it doesn't. There's no slowdown to this film at all. Kind of like what was it we just watched? Venom 2. That was kind of the one complaint about Venom 2 is you could have used another 30 minutes of that movie because it is so fast paced. Once it starts, boom, it goes. It's very fast paced. That's how Godzilla vs. Kong is, and it is hands down, I think, the most action packed Godzilla film. Of all time, maybe the most action packed monster movie of all time. It is extremely action packed. It got a lot of praise from the critics. It got a pretty good rating from Rotten Tomatoes. Metacritic gave it an A. Cinema Score gave it an A. Metacritic gave it like 80%. But the biggest praise on the film was the special effects, which are arguably the best special effects of the series, and the fight sequences. Everybody said the fight sequences were just a 10 all the way, rightfully so. So let's jump into it, man. Let's find out what we all liked about it. Ruben, it's been a minute since you've gone first, so let's let you run with your thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong.
All right, man. Well, this movie, to me, and there's nothing I didn't like about it. I loved everything about it. You hit on it earlier. It's like the whole MonsterVerse Godzilla series with 2014, and then you had the Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then this one. It was different on every one. You had 2014, which laid the foundation, basically. It's like Godzilla 54. Then you had, King of the Monsters, which laid out the foundation. And then you had this one where there was an anticipation to this leading, it all led to this. Both of the movies before this one led to this one, to this epic clash.
Even Kong Skull Island.
Exactly.
And not even sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but the credit sequence in Kong Skull Island is probably my favorite. Because I remember being in theaters and you see the cave paintings of Rodan and Ghidra, and it's like, oh, we know where we're coming or we're going to with King of the Monsters. But then right at the end, you hear Godzilla's roar in theater. I came unglued, dude.
Yeah, that's funny. That's the anticipation. All these films, as good as King of the Monsters was, it just kind of laid the path. Kind of, it was a yellow brick road going to the Emerald City.
Yeah.
So man, I just love this movie. I thought the story was great. The way they did it. It made sense. The only thing that I still wrestle with is, okay, how does Godzilla not know that he's there? At first I thought, well, it was the enclosure. They built that enclosure, because Godzilla's been around. I know the Skull Island was discovered, Vietnam War era, so, I always wrestle. Is it the storm? Does the storm protect Kong from, was that storm?
That's always surrounding the island, right?
Yeah, surrounding the island. Is that what it is? And I think that's an homage to if you remember in King Kong 76, well, there was a fog around the island, right? If you remember that, and it was just a fog bank that never moved. And then in King Kong 2005, there was a storm that they had to go through to get to the island. So I always felt like that was an homage to the other Kong films that were done before this one. Along with Kyle Chandler showing up in two Kong films. Yeah. And so I always wrestle with that. It's like, okay, how did Kong not show up in King of the Monsters? You know, every indication would be that he did. I mean, if Godzilla could find, you know, a skull of Ghidorah,
right,
you know, from all the way, you know, how could he not find Kong? You know, so I always wrestle with that. That's the only part I'm like, you know, I wish they would make it more sense, or at least explain.
Well,
why,
I think they kind of go
know.
into it a little bit more in the novelization of King of the Monsters.
Okay, do they?
Because I know that in King of the Monsters, the novel, which had more of the original idea in the novel from what made it the film, they do explain why when the Godzilla roars at the end, and the monsters show up, why Kong didn't show up, and it's because of the war between the species. I mean, Kong knows this is, I'm not answering the call. I am the one who will not answer the call. So they go into that there's that rivalry between the Kongs and the Godzillas. They really kind of went into a little bit more in the book. And so they might have went into it a little more in the, I haven't read the book. That's just what I know. You know,
well, I looked at it, they kept saying, well, if he leaves the island, Godzilla's coming. And so, which made me think that Godzilla was fine as long as he's on the island. He's not doing anything. He's on the island. But the moment he leaves the island, then he's coming. That's why they kind of kept pushing there.
Almost like the island was almost in prison for the Kongs.
Yeah. I just can't reconcile that and the fact that he leaves the island and say, oh, we'll just avoid Godzilla. Well, we won't take where he hangs out. I'm like, well, but he's going to sense him right away. You know, you guys know that. And, you know, I'm like, well, you know, it is what it is. But otherwise, other than that, I mean, I love the story. I love the story where Apex is trying to build Mechagodzilla. That was great. Mechagodzilla's design was awesome. It was great.
Loved it.
Yeah, it was a great design.
Minus the hands. The hands were my only complaint, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I would have liked to have seen it a little bit more homage to the original one. Maybe some missiles shooting out of his hands or something. You know, something back to the old Mechagodzilla. But it was good. I mean, it was an awesome design, and seeing Kong full grown was awesome because until I saw that, when I remember thinking, there's no way Kong has a chance against Godzilla. It's just not going to happen. There is no way Kong wins any battle against Godzilla ever. You know, and then I saw him and I'm like, dang, he's big and he's smart. And, you know, and you know, he's kind of like, he's a little bit more strategic in it. So I'm like, okay, so it's brain over bronze or brawn versus brains. Of course, when it came down to it, brawn won. You know, but at the same time, Mechagodzilla does not get defeated by either one unless they work together.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, if it's not for King Kong helping Godzilla, there's no way Godzilla wins that battle against Mechagodzilla. I don't think. He was just getting just getting whooped.
Yeah.
That was Rocky IV, that was Apollo Creed getting annihilated, you know, by Drago. You know, I'm like, dang, that's Drago, dude. He's just humiliating a poor Apollo Creed. Only thing missing was those red, white, and blue trunks on Godzilla. Otherwise, that would have been it. You know, so I'm like, man, and so, you know, I always thought, I said, you know, they're going to end up teaming up somehow, some way. There's no way they end up enemies. And it worked out for the best. And I think the way they did it worked out. They had a common enemy.
Yeah,
and it worked out.
And I think Wingard and Mark and all them, you know, and Mike Doherty, who wrote this, they knew that. I mean, like, you had to answer the ultimate. I mean, it's been, 60 years almost of a debate of who won originally, Kong or Godzilla.
Right.
I mean, so you had to get that answer. That was the number one thing about the movie is you have to finally answer who is the top monster.
Right.
And they did that, but then they knew you got to have them work together. You can't not put the two greatest monsters of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And not have them team up.
Yes.
People were screaming for it before the movie ever went into production.
So you got a definite, in my opinion, now there might be some Team Kong people out there to think it was the other way around, but I think you got a definite winner of the two and Godzilla.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's the whole sequence.
You know,
I mean, Kong's dying. He's literally dying. Like
he's dying.
But
and that's what I use as a reference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and when Kong goes down after the fight, they make it at a point. It's a pretty epic shot, aerial shot, zooming out. The music score fits. This is the end. They let you know it's over. Kong just lost. He is not, Godzilla is the true king. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I had Team Kong Team Kong's in my house. And so, I did have to deal with it. Well, yeah, he was close to death, but he didn't die. He was close, but he came back and rescued Godzilla. Had to hear all that. Had to hear it all.
Yeah. But and that's all true. But when all being said, one-on-one,
oh yeah,
that's what happened. If it wasn't for the heave, Godzilla, King Kong does not get up.
True,
but if it wasn't for King Kong, Godzilla gets Apollo Creed.
But at the same token, if it wasn't for Godzilla charging the axe, Kong would have been done for.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they really couldn't have.
It really did. They did a great job of balancing all that, giving you a winner, but also working it out where both get to be the hero.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So
Team Kong can debate all they want. King Godzilla can debate all they want, and it works out great. So I liked it the way they did it. I liked the way they did it. I thought the special effects were out of this world. As far as action goes, I'm still give it to King of the Monsters. As far as action, you mentioned that this one had more action. I think, I don't know. This one was a shorter movie and had more action compacted into it. So thinking out loud, you're right. This one had more action because King of the Monsters was kind of spread out.
Yeah, but I think King of the Monsters had more of that epic battle versus action movie sequences.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean, This one's more of a, like I said, this has got more action. It's like a boxing or a wrestling match type deal.
Yeah.
You had the two, this is, I said Apollo Creed. This is Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan. If anybody remembers WrestleMania.
Oh, dude, loved it. That was my first WrestleMania match I ever watched. Was that one?
This was like the ultimate. The immovable object meets the immovable force. I think. What is it? Something like that.
Oh man, it's like in the moment that Kong brings the axe down. That's a great analogy.
Yeah,
the moment Kong brings the axe down on Godzilla is the moment where Hulk picked up Andre. I mean, you remember and does the slam?
That's right.
That's that moment, man. That is the perfect analogy for this. Is Hulk versus Andre?
Yeah, I mean that one. I remember that was a huge deal. So that's why I compare it to, and I know you got regular listeners to the show know I'm a big wrestling fan. So I always pull out a wrestling analogy here and there, but that's what this was. This was the two greatest monsters of all time facing off with each other, and so I loved it. I loved all the little Easter eggs. Even the little one, Kong putting his shoulder, his shoulder, he got a separated shoulder.
Yeah,
and he pops it into pace, like Martin Riggs and Lethal Weapon.
Oh, dude, that was a straight up Easter egg because Wingard, and that's one of my favorite sequences. Wingard, that's his favorite movie of all time, is the first Lethal Weapon.
Yeah,
and so he put that in there on purpose, and it was epic.
Oh yeah, and it worked.
It was. Dude, I remember that because it seems like Godzilla even made the same face that Martin Riggs did when he did it. He kind of like, man, I'm moving around like everybody can see me. But
we can see you.
I remember he did it. He's he just kind of just slams up against the wall. King Kong just slams up against the building and says, "Okay, I'm ready to go."
He knocks it back in the socket. Then he picks his arm up in that boxing stance and that look on his face, and he's like, it's time to get this on.
It's time to get it on." And I'm like, man, this is just so. There was just so many good. This movie took everything that we love: action movies, monster movies, me wrestling, and just threw it all in together and then threw it in a movie, and it blended perfectly. It made the perfect margarita down here in Texas. Perfect margarita. It was just so great. And all these little, there weren't as many Easter eggs in this one as there was maybe in King of the Monsters, but there was still a whole lot, from Kong being ultimately transported via helicopters. Like, was it helicopter? Yeah, via helicopters over, just like the original Kong, right? Straight back to the original. So even that was great. And I wrestle with the fact that that water fight sequence was so good. It almost, I mean, that final battle was, you can't beat it. But I don't know, there's the best battle, and then there's what's your favorite battle. And boy, that battle at sea was pretty darn good. I really liked it a lot.
Oh, I did too.
I really liked it a lot, but that you can't beat that final sequence. That final sequence with Mechagodzilla and all that. And there was actually another Easter egg there. I don't know if did you notice the logo for that guy's podcast?
No.
Did you ever? It's one eye like the Godzilla 98 logo that they use.
Yes. Okay.
It's a triangle and it's got one little eye and it's even tilted that way.
I noticed that.
That looks it's kind of far-fetched. I don't even know if it's really an Easter egg. I just saw it and I'm like, that kind of looks like it. And but I mean, soundtrack was great. The only negatives I found is like I told you, I couldn't reconcile that little thing about Godzilla not knowing Kong was there. Mark's idea is great. What he just said, it's like, well, maybe Godzilla knows he's there, but as long as he minds his own business, I'll mind my own business.
Well, and if you go into
exactly,
and for those of you who just watch the movies, don't get deep into the lore of it, as me or some other listeners or fans do, they go much deeper into this in the graphic novels that Legendary has been releasing, and when it comes
I might have to take a look at that. I might have to go look and see that.
They are amazing. All of them are. The Godzilla one's awesome because it's literally just Godzilla going from Titan to Titan to Titan to Titan, just whooping everyone's rear end and saying, "Remember your place," But the Kong one's especially good. But they do tie into a lot about the war, and the war ended ultimately with Godzilla's father, who's called Dagon. The spines that you see in the axes came from him. But yeah, if I'm mistaken. But he stopped.
So I guess Kong's. Did he stop the war, or did he
Dagon
get defeated?
Did. No, Dagon stopped the war. He won.
Okay.
Yeah, because Dagon is who you end up finding in the original Godzilla, or Godzilla 2014, the first one. That's supposed to be him that the Mutos ended up killing with the eggs. That's Dagon. But with the war, Dagon put the end to it. But the way that they shape it up and the way that it's supposed to be is the Kongs were actually the bad guys in the story, in the MonsterVerse lore.
Yeah.
They were, they were the bad guys. They were dominion over everybody in their hollow earth, and they were mistreating Titans and all kinds of other things, which caused the war to happen in the first place. And the who Godzilla has, as they've always said in the MonsterVerse lore, that Dr. Zarazawa said, when nature's going to put something to check, Godzilla's the one who brings balance back, and he always has been. The Godzilla's, that's their species, has always been that balance for the planet. And the Kongs were taking it out of balance, so the Godzillas had to step up and go, no, we're putting you back into place. And that's what happened. So Mark's idea, I think, makes sense, is if it wasn't the storm, they were okay to, because you see in this movie where Godzilla and Kong fight, where multiple times Godzilla's like, dude, if you back off, submit, I'll let you live.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what happened there is they let the Kongs stay there because they removed the Kongs from the Hollow Earth. That's why they were on Skull Island. But if you stay there, all's good. You know what I mean? But you step off the island.
I'm coming.
Crap's hitting the fan.
Yeah. We're gonna go. Yeah. We're gonna do this again.
Yep. Which they definitely did.
But and then in the end, he looks at him, and then they have that mutual agreement.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing is.
Well, I think the realization is you could look at it one way that, okay, Kong submitted. I don't see Kong submitting so much as saying, okay, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Can we call a truce? And Godzilla allows that truce to happen.
Yeah.
Because especially the fight with Godzilla or with Mechagodzilla. I think Godzilla, who's very intelligent, and you find out throughout this whole series, he's not just pure instinct. He is an extremely intelligent being, realizes this Kong is different than his predecessors.
Yeah, the previous.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, that would be I'd buy that theory. I think that's probably what was, a deal was made.
Yeah.
This is what we'll do. But but in conclusion, I mean, I just love this film. I gave it a pretty high stomp rating, even though I was Switzerland on this one. And some of that stomp rating was because of Miss Gonzalez. She just, boy, I bet you what, she got my Texas. She put some of that butter on my Texas toast. That's all I
know. Oh, that's good. That's
so
good.
I'll pass it on to one of you guys next.
Mark.
All right. Man, great movie. I mean, everything that it was built up to, even without the COVID, was there. I mean, maybe that's us Godzilla fans. We're just looking at, and we're thinking, yeah, this is it. We keep waiting and keep waiting and keep waiting, and finally it's here. Because the first time around when Toho did it back in the 60s, late 60s, 62, enjoyed it. No clear winner. You still
not at all.
You was still without that. Who's the king? Who's the best? And it works all the way up through to now, and you get that definite clear winner, but yet you're still excited, you're still pumped up because by the time the movie gets done, you're happy. You're happy for the result. And you walk out and you're just pumped up. You're ready to scream and do whatever.
Turn around and watch it again and again and again.
And I watched it again this morning, and I think the action was great. Yeah, maybe even better than King of the Monsters. King of the Monsters is still on top for me as the best, but it's still, this one runs a close second because you're getting to know the characters, you're getting to know everything that's going on. Nice shirt.
Again, we zoom. For those listening, going, "What the heck just happened?" We Zoom meeting these so we can see Ruben.
I needed to, I got one of those Mark chairs. I got one of those Mark chairs, and I needed to stand up. I needed to stand up. And...
Out of left field, Ruben stands up, and he's got a Venom shirt on.
And believe it or not, it glows in the dark.
Oh, I got one just like that. It's an awesome shirt.
My bad.
In the dark,
So,
sorry about
Ruben's
that.
rocking a Venom shirt for those listening, and Mark just saw him.
So, but I mean, overall, the movie is, everything about the movie is great. Everything about I didn't have any faults at all in it. With all the human characters, everything they're going through, all that's going on, kept what non-action parts just kept you intrigued and in it.
Yeah. Which there wasn't very much. There wasn't, it's funny that, the gaps were very short. There was Kong or Godzilla in a lot of scenes, or Mutos. You had the skull crawlers.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sorry.
It was great to see those guys come back.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was,
so it was good.
Without a doubt. Just a great movie, and lived up to everything that it was talked about. And no negatives whatsoever with me. And you'll see with the stomp ratings, I was there. I was glued, and went to the movies, seen it. HBO Max, I've seen it and seen it. And seen
right.
it. It's on the play, just everywhere. We're, and I just keep watching it because it's fantastic. I'm an all thumbs up, and I'm gonna give it to you,
man. I love this movie. Love this movie. It doesn't quite hit the mark for me that King of the Monsters did. I will say this: when it comes to why you're going to see this movie, Godzilla versus Kong, this movie knocks it out of the freaking park. I don't know that they could have gotten those sequences any better.
Oh no,
they did a they did a phenomenal
perfection.
job putting Kong as a more relatable character, especially with Gia. I mean, just even the way Kong acted. He's older. Much wiser. But I mean, even little things like he wakes up in the beginning of the movie, first thing in the morning, yawns and scratches his freaking rear. Like, that was just great to me. You know what I mean? Like, that just it gives a lot of personality to Kong. And you need that for Kong, because Godzilla you can only give so much personality to. So you definitely needed that. So I'm glad that they did that with him. As far as how they handled each other, I mean, fighting each other. The fights were epic, but I mean, even Kong on his own, when he's in Hollow Earth, fights the Nazuki, those Warbat, new things, does a great job in that sequence, and that was a great quick little fight that we got. The monster action's phenomenal. Even Doug, there's this little lizard in Hollow Earth that you see eating these little Destroya-esque crabs. And the fan base has dubbed him Doug, and now everyone wants a Doug movie. He does. He just looks like it almost looks like it could be an offspring or an offshoot of a Godzilla species. But they handled the monsters phenomenal. The fight sequence, of course, I'm Team Godzilla. I understand you got to give Kong his due where he needs it, which you get definitely in the second battle. I mean, his intelligence shows in the first battle in the ocean for sure. Yeah, but he's fighting against Godzilla. It doesn't matter where. That's a tough fight, but you're fighting him in his territory.
I think the movie did a good job of making him a formidable opponent.
Yeah, you walk away from this movie going, okay, Godzilla's it. He's the winner. He's the alpha. He's the true alpha. But his right-hand man, without question, is going to be Kong. I mean, if you bring in the next MonsterVerse movie, and it's just a solo Kong film, and Kong has to go up against some of these other titans, whether it's Behemoth, Bahamut, whoever, I honestly don't see them holding a candle to him. I mean, Kong in this movie, I mean, even though he lost to Godzilla, stapled the fact that he's a king for a reason. I mean, if he would have been in King of the Monsters, that would have been a quick fight. I mean, like if Godzilla and Ghidorah or Godzilla and Kong were fighting against Ghidorah, that'd have been a totally different outcome. I mean, I don't even think that.
And you know what? I'm still holding out for Mecha King Ghidorah. I mean, there's still another head out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So there's still another Ghidorah head out there. They got the one, if I'm not mistaken, that was the one that was ripped off first in King of the Monsters that ended up underwater. Is that the one they recovered?
Yes, that's the one they recovered.
Right. So that's the one. And there's another one out there, correct?
No, I don't think so. Godzilla blew that. No, Godzilla blew that last one.
I swore there was another one.
So no, just the one. Just the one. I'm sorry to shoot down your Mega King Ghidorah dreams. I'm sorry.
Man, you just shot it all down. I thought there was a second
terrible.
Head. I could have swore I read somewhere there was a second head out there.
My
and
bad.
I'm like,
my bad.
And this one is still out there too. I mean, it's just a skull though. It's just it doesn't make any sense. But I can wish for it.
Wishful think it's a good thing. So, but I mean, so
we can use the nano metal from that lame Mechagodzilla anime.
Oh yeah, there you go. To bring that in there. But I think they handled both monsters phenomenally well. I mean, Godzilla. I mean, well, go back to Kong real quick because I am pro Godzilla, but I want to give Kong his due. He is super smart. He can think on the fly. Especially when it comes to the battle. I mean, the last moment choices he can make can alter where he's at. I mean, you see it in the Hong Kong fight sequence after the big hit with the axe that kind of blows them both back. And I think Nathan Lynn's character, or Alex Skarsgård's character, Nathan Lynn says, looks like round 2 goes to Kong. Godzilla gets up and he's looking for Kong. Well, Kong is climbing on top of one of the skyscrapers and he's got a crane in his hand, like one of those construction cranes, and he uses it as a distraction. He throws it behind Godzilla, gets Godzilla to turn, and then jumps. So, I mean, like, his strategy is awesome. Unfortunately, it's just not enough to go against the raw talent and experience and brutality that Godzilla is, because Godzilla just rips him to freaking shreds right there at the end. So, I mean, they're both phenomenal in this movie. I love both of the monsters. I think you have some of the best fights of any monster movie ever, but there's just so many epic moments as a fan that you're just like, dude, this was, in the ocean fight when Godzilla's under the boat and he's fixing to light it on fire and Kong realizes and he jumps. That shot of him jumping off that ship with Godzilla's ray coming up behind him was epic, man. It was just like, whoa. But I mean, there's other moments too. I mean, the moment where Kong first communicates, or you see Kong communicate with Gia on the ship, and he signs home. You're just like, that was just a jaw-dropping moment. You just realize how intelligent Kong is, and that was amazing. Down to there's shots on the ocean sequence of Godzilla that's straight up Jaws, like with his spines coming through. You're like, dude, it looks amazing. The graphics this is probably some of the best graphics I've ever seen on film for CGI.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
The colors are phenomenal. But then you got that moment there. That fight scene, he takes the axe and hits Godzilla right in the leg, and Godzilla just throws him off into the water and then grabs that axe and rips it out of his leg like it's nothing. I mean, it's brutal. Every fight is brutal. But then you get that moment where he finally beats Kong. He's ripped his chest to shreds, stomped his chest down, and looks at him in the face, and then roars. And Kong roars back. That may be the best Godzilla scene of all time, of all movies. Like that moment where they're roaring, it's just like, oh my gosh. But then down to just the Mega Godzilla fight is unreal because I want Godzilla to win, but that's the way it goes with Mega Godzilla. Godzilla freaking puts a whooping on Godzilla because he's supposed to be his superior, always has been. 74, 75, 92, 2002, 2003. Mega Godzilla is the superior. He's supposed to be, and he always ends up overtaking Godzilla, and Godzilla wins by the assistance of somebody. It's just the way it's been. King Caesar, or the humans, stopping Titanosaurus so Godzilla can take Mega Godzilla down. To Rodan, give him a reboot of rejuice of energy in 92. That's just the way that it works. And it was brutal. I think it's probably the first time on scene. Well, no, I mean the 74 Mega Godzilla, he put a serious whooping on him. But
he drew blood. I mean, it was bloodier. The 74 was bloodier than this one.
That was the 74 Mega Godzilla was hands down the bloodiest Godzilla film ever. The amount of blood in it. But I mean, this one it was just like there was just no hope. I mean, he was just brutally tearing Godzilla apart. And then you get the epic shot of them from, again, throwback to the 92 Mega Godzilla, where you see them blow their atomic rays at each other. Like that was just absolutely epic too. But then Kong showing up at the right moment, man. Then you see them both got Mega Godzilla one arm with each one of them, and they shove him through a building. They're giving it their all, and that's just an absolute epic fight, and all in itself, down to the destruction of Mega Godzilla. There is no qualms with me for the monsters in this movie or the fight sequences. Absolutely amazing. My only qualms does come with the human characters, which I know we don't usually watch these movies for that, but I did have a few issues, which is it's still got a high rating from me, but where it faltered was the human characters, a few of them, not all of them, because Brian Henry, who plays Bernie, he may be my favorite character in the Monsterverse period. He is absolutely spot on perfect. My issues was honestly with I had a hard time with Skarsgård as Nathan Lynn. Like I just couldn't. I mean, he was Tarzan. I freaking love Skarsgård. Like his Tarzan movie.
Yeah. Now that you can't do that.
Well, I know I can't compare it to it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, even when he first showed on the scene, in True Blood. I mean, he's phenomenal in True Blood. Everything I've seen him do, he's great, and I can believe him in the role, and I can tie into the character. But for some reason, he just felt like a throwaway character in this movie. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. It's funny. It's not that there was anything wrong with him. I think it's just the way he was written.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because he just felt like he's the tie to Hollow Earth. You know what I mean? But he's a big character in the movie, but he never rose above that. You know what I mean?
But don't you think in all three movies they've done that with?
They've done that with characters, but not the major characters. You know what I mean? Like you look at the King of the Monsters.
We'll go back to the first movie, and what's his name? Brian.
Well, that was every movie's had their mistake, and the first one's mistake was killing Bryan Cranston.
But I mean,
Bryan Cranston, hands down, is the greatest human character in the entire trilogy, minus Serizawa, who we lost in King of the Monsters.
Right.
And speaking of Serizawa, so Nathan Lind, I felt like they could have done more or something because I had an issue with the character.
Do you have someone in mind who it would do better?
Well, I don't know that much.
Maybe. I don't know if you do or not. I might be putting you on the spot.
Maybe not so much of
because we don't put people on the spot.
Yeah, we don't do that here.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much the actor as it is maybe is the writing of the character, but that character just with the history, his brother dying, the ties with Simmons. Simmons is an older guy. I probably could have used an older actor, a little bit older of an actor.
You know, it would have been nice to see a flashback of that. You know, at the beginning of the movie or something.
Yeah,
you know,
of his brother's death.
Where his brother dies or whatever.
That would have brought me more to
been,
that character, definitely.
Yeah.
So
because I thought about that, I said, well, you know, they talk about it, but it should have been nice, you know, how they show. Maybe they can go back to the very beginning, you know, instead of Cold Shot Kong. You know, they do that first,
a little more
and then
intro
they lead into
the Hollow Earth.
a little bit more.
And that
intro.
would have brought more with Nathan's character, I think, because I mean, when you first introduce him, he's kind of moping in his office, you know, at the school he teaches at.
Yeah.
So I had issues with that character. Gia was phenomenal. Like, I mean, equally stole the show as much. I mean, I love Millie Bobby Brown and I love Kyle Chandler in these films, but I really didn't care about them because of Gia.
Yeah, they were minor in this one. They were minor
Gia
characters
and Bernie
in this one.
stole the show. But the only major issue, and this was the big check for me, because I feel like this wasn't a severe opportunity or a major opportunity severely missed, and that's Ray Serizawa, the character who pilots Mechagodzilla in the Ghidorah brain. For those who don't know, that's Serizawa's son. Okay.
Yeah.
And they filmed like 3 hours of footage for this movie. And we got like a little over, you know, we got under a 2 hour runtime.
Right under 2 hours.
You know, why did they not include the stuff with Ray?
Exactly.
You know, like, why is he piloting Mechagodzilla and agreeing to do this? Well, because his dad's dead because of Godzilla. Like, that is a human character that should have been leading you, because you got the Team Godzilla character, which is Gia all the way, and you know, Lynn and them, but Gia carries Team Godzilla. You've got, while yes, Millie Bobby Brown is Team Godzilla. I'm sorry, Gia's Team Kong. Millie Bobby Brown's Team Godzilla, but that's really Brian Henry. You know, I mean, Bernie is really the new Team Godzilla leader. Serizawa should have been the Team Mechagodzilla character, carrying that all the way. It should not have been Simmons.
Right.
You know what I mean, like that vendetta.
And it's funny, we know his past, you know, looking like, what's that, Serizawa's son? It's got to be. It's got to be something like that. But they never talk about it. It's kind of like you leave it to assume. You just leave it for people to assume who he is.
Yeah, because you get that moment.
A lot of people don't do that.
No.
You know, they wouldn't be able to do that.
If you pay attention, you'll get hints at it, because if the Pensacola scene when Godzilla shows up and Simmons is about to take off in a helicopter and Serizawa is staring at Godzilla, the look on his face, there's that look of hatred. You know, it's like, what's going, and that's it. That is all you get.
Yeah.
That's all you get.
And then he turns and gets on the helicopter and they're gone.
Yeah, you know, so I mean, that to me was such a majorly positive thing that should have been.
It was a diss. Yeah, it was a diss. They did us a disservice with that.
Yeah,
you're right.
I mean, that was my big issue with the human characters.
You know, and it could be fixed like we just said, like with his brother. I mean, we could have fixed it with a flashback, and we could have fixed it with, you know, how many years later is this after King of the Monsters?
5 years.
Exactly, 5 years. We could have shown him as a teenager, you know, where they show up and tell his family that he passed away. You know,
yeah, or even like that scene where in Pensacola where he's staring at Godzilla, you get mental flashbacks.
A mental flashback right
of
there.
him and his father. You know, what I mean, that scene. Go back to that scene where Serizawa and it blows up the nuke. You know, and then a quick shot of him at his father's grave. You know, I mean, something like that.
Yeah, that would have been enough.
Oh yeah,
that would have been perfect right there.
That would have set it up.
So I mean, that was my only real major complaint in the movie was just those two characters, but that the Serizawa character again was such a huge opportunity missed that it was difficult for me.
I think it's worth a little subtraction there for it.
And then
I think so.
And then for me, even though it wasn't bad, the soundtrack just didn't do it for me 100%. I mean, coming off the rails of King of the Monsters, which was just...
Oh, yeah. You can't compare the two.
No.
You can't.
You can't at all. Did the soundtrack not fit? I mean, no, it fit for a Wingard film. If you go watch anything Adams, you know, the soundtrack really fit, especially for his fight sequences. But there was just none of that epicness. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be the same Godzilla theme because, I mean, you go back to 2014, the soundtrack for 2014 was phenomenal as well. I mean, my personal re-edit of Godzilla 1985, I've got three tracks from the 2014 film in it. You know what I mean? Like I used it because it's that good.
That good.
I just felt this one lacked in the sound department like the first two. So, I mean, those were my only two complaints, really. Mainly Serizawa and then the soundtrack. But other than that, oh my gosh. You could not have asked for anything better out of these two fighting. You could not have asked for any better action. It's intense. It is a roller coaster. It's the Beast from King's Island. You know what I mean? It's one of those roller coasters that it starts, it does not stop till the ride's over.
Exactly.
Like it's just boom, hold on, or you're getting whiplash. So I thought it was great. I mean, I love the movie. It's super good. I don't know. Again, I've seen this. I don't know, maybe 7 times. Don't know yet if it's going to break my top 5 for Godzilla films, but it probably will, just for the sheer fact of the action alone. If I can just get over the acting and the sound, or the characters and the sound, I think it will make it for sure. So, all right, it's Stompdown rating time. Okay, guys. So as a whole, we gave the last film all the same numbers that we did.
Yes.
But this one
5. We gave it a straight 5.
Yeah, 5 across the board. This one varied a little bit. Overall, 4.5 stomps from the crew for this one, but we all did a little bit different. I came with the low end. Mark came with the high. Ruben Switzerland it right in the middle. So I gave it 4.
Switzerland right in there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, I gave it 4.5, and that half was for that's what that half was. I'm sorry. She just
should have been a 4
for me. I'm like, man. And now I'm going to pose a question to you guys. Now that we've done with the stomp ratings, we're done with all the Godzilla movies. Just here in the Monsterverse. Not which one's the best, but which one's your favorite Monsterverse movie?
King of the Monsters.
Skull Island.
King of the Monsters. Yep.
Yeah.
And which Skull Island's still great, by the way. I know.
And you know what? I was about to say, man, Skull Island and King of the Monsters for me fight it out. So I'm going to say Skull Island. That's my favorite.
Wow.
Is it the best? Wow. But I think Skull Island, I enjoy that.
Did he just admit to being Team Kong?
That sounds like Team Kong to me.
Team Kong. Yeah,
that's Team Kong right there.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's more like Team Brie Larson, but that's
that's going. It's got to have something to do with Brie. It's got to be something with her.
Exactly.
That's where
wait a minute. And you got Samuel L. Jackson. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. You got. I mean that you have Loki. And you have, you got
Dan's in it, John Goodman.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. You got an all-star cast there,
so Kong Skull Island was great. I mean, I would put, King of the Monsters is hands down my favorite, and I think it's the best. And then next would actually be a tie between, because I wouldn't be able to figure out. I don't know. I would lean. I don't know. It's tough. It would be hard to find out Godzilla vs. Kong and Skull Island. I would honestly put 2014 at the bottom of the run.
If you're comparing them all, and it's not to say that they're all
no,
great.
Yeah, they're all amazing.
I'm just saying I got all 4 lined up, and which one is my which one do I feel like watching more often? And King of the Monsters is great to watch, but maybe the burnout comes because it's on TV all the time. King of the Monsters, where Skull Island isn't. So that might be what it is. But Skull Island, I really enjoy.
Mark, what about you?
I am straight King of the Monsters, Godzilla versus Kong, Skull Island, and then 2014.
And that might be the list I'd go with.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tough.
That's exactly where I'm at on it. Yeah.
It's
because I would do like you said, 2014 on the bottom, and that's not saying anything bad, but I would
no. And I think the reason I would put 2014 on the bottom really would. It would all boil down, honestly, for that film to Aaron Taylor Johnson. That whole second half. While the fight sequences were great, the death of Bryan Cranston to me was too detrimental to that film. And Aaron Tyler Johnson, who, while I like him in other roles, he was great in Kick-Ass. He's phenomenal in Avengers: Age of Ultron as Quicksilver. He's got his roles that are good. He just was not strong enough to carry that film. He just really wasn't.
Yeah. He was in the caliber. I mean, not that he's not a great. He just couldn't.
He's not Bryan Cranston caliber, unfortunately. So, but yeah, I would. I would lean with Mark's list too. I mean, for right now, it might switch later on down the road between Skull Island and Godzilla vs. Kong, because I'm still fresh on Godzilla vs. Kong. But I mean, Skull Island, man. I mean, and that fight sequence between him and the Skullcrawler at the end was pretty epic.
I mean, I don't know. It just seems that I enjoy that one, and all kidding aside, I mean, it's just that one for me. I'm like, I don't know. It's a little bit more fun to watch, I guess, would be the term.
Yeah. Well, I think as far as characters, way better characters than Kong Skull Island.
Oh yeah,
way better characters.
Like I said, that's an all-star cast. I mean, think about it, who's in that movie, and I'm like, man, they went all out for that movie.
They really did. Well, even they really the smaller roles, I'm trying to think of his name, the guy that got blown up with the grenades. Oh my gosh, he was great in that movie. What is his? It's going to drive me freaking nuts. The name of the character. That's not Chapman. Well, I mean, of course, you got John C. Reilly in it too. By the way, we didn't bring him up. We should have, because he's phenomenal in that movie. Actually, like John C. Reilly surprised me in that big time. But the character, he's one of the other Cole. I don't know. I don't know the name of the actor, but the guy, he was great, man. Like I thought he was. He was one of my favorite characters when he's sitting there after everything goes down and Kong's killed half the army guys and he's sitting there eating a can of Beanie Weenies and his buddy's like, "You're eating the time right now." He's like, "I was hungry." I mean, like Cole's great.
I was hungry. Yeah.
So.
Shea Wiggum, is that how you say
Shea Wiggum? Okay.
Yeah. Shea Wiggum.
He's great. I mean, absolutely great as that character. So.
Yeah. So maybe that's why I'm drawn to it. I just thought that was great. So I just wanted to know, now that we're all done with this and we're going to start a next chapter of our podcast.
That's right. So
I thought, we're going to start a new chapter.
We are. So we decided, because we got to this, for those listening, and which, by the way, 4.5 stomps out of us. I mean, this movie's phenomenal. You probably have seen Godzilla vs. Kong. Again, this is the movie that is now and forever going to be known as the movie that saved the cinemas.
I gave it the perfect 5.
Yeah, Mark gave it a 5.
I gave it a 5.
Thought, I do want to say that was. I thought that was pretty bold. A 5.
Yeah,
like, it's a great movie, but I mean, we're talking like King of the Monsters. Got a 5,
I realized
that got a 5.
And I realized that you're more of a 98 Godzilla
Absolutely
man.
Not.
And now we're finding out that Ruben's going Kong. You see why I give it a 5.
Yeah, okay.
That's all me right
I hope
there.
you've enjoyed the chair. So.
Now, the reason I gave it a 4.5, to be honest, is because I gave King of the Monsters a 5. Okay. So I'm like, okay, which one is better? And
that was part of my 4.
Me,
that was part of my reasoning for a 4.
Yeah.
Was the sheer fact that
was
the original Godzilla got a 5, King of the Monsters got a 5. I could not give this one the same.
And I think if you will look back and check 2014, I gave it a 5.
You did give them
King of the Monsters.
Yeah,
I gave it a 5.
As a matter of fact,
that's right.
Yes. I'm 5 all the way through.
So you have given the MonsterVerse a 5. Period.
They rocked it.
2014. That was, again, I'll break it. That was his number 1.
Yes. Yeah.
When we did the Godzilla, when we ranked the Godzilla films.
Yeah. I mean,
that was his number 1.
I will say, I mean, and we talk about the 98 film, and it is such a horrible movie. But Legendary just did a complete 180 with the new American Godzilla films.
Oh yeah,
they did. They absolutely knocked it out of the park, and not just with Godzilla films, even Kong.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But that's what I'm saying. They did not go out of their way. The mistake Godzilla 98, the makers of Godzilla 98 made, is they tried to change too much of it. They tried to make it their own and disregard the fans, basically. That's what they did. They just disregarded the fans.
I was talking to my boss today, because we just, Godzilla's birthday was, not too long ago, the 3rd.
Last week.
And that's the one day of the year. Because, I mean, I really don't, for those people who know me, I really do not take days off. And, well, this was the first real day off. When I say an R&R day, means you're doing nothing. No responsibility, actual rest and relaxation for a day. November 3rd was Godzilla's birthday was the first and only R&R day I've had all of 2021. And so my boss was like excited for me. So I was talking to her today, and she's like, "All right, you got to tell me, I had a chance to talk to you. How did Godzilla Day go? How did, and I was like, I was telling her about going and getting a Godzilla burger and watching Godzilla King of the Monsters and playing the games and yada, yada, yada. And she's like, I think you've said it before. I was like, but the only Godzilla movie I've ever seen is that one that I think you hate. I'm like, with Matthew Broderick. She's like, yeah. She's like, why do you hate it? That was the worst question she could. 15 minutes later, she's like, okay, we got to get back to work. And I'm like, sorry. I just ranted on my hate for that film. So, but yeah.
But it's just, that's what it is. And Legendary didn't do that. They embraced Godzilla for, Toho Godzilla and his history. And
go ahead.
And they all did their homework. I mean, they all dug in and.
Well, I don't even think it's so much that they did their homework. Well, I mean, they did their homework, but is the fact that who you had in charge, who you had behind everything. Thomas Toll, major Godzilla fan. Gareth Edwards, major Godzilla fan. Michael Dougherty, major Godzilla fan. Adam Wingard. I mean, all these dudes are like, dude, Godzilla's why we do movies. You know what I mean? That's the four biggest people that's important in this, Thomas Toll, and then all three directors have all stated Godzilla is why we got into filmmaking one way or another. Was because of either the first Godzilla film,
there you go.
King Arthur's Godzilla. So I mean, the top four people in this trilogy are fanatics. They're fans. And not on top of, on top of that, then you've got the writing crew, I mean, that worked on these films, Terry Rossio, Zach Shields, Max Bornstein, they're huge fans. Max and Terry, they write for the IDW comic books. Then, of course, you got Michael Dougherty, who wrote for King of the Monsters and wrote for, Godzilla vs. Kong, is the fact that your top dogs.
Is he posing?
I think he's posing with the Venom shirt. He's just like, look at it.
Oh man,
look at it.
55,
I'm waiting for him to pull a Kevin
55-year-old body, man.
I'm waiting for like Kevin Smith to pull out here, or him just standing like Jay and just start rubbing the nipples, just like I'm waiting. No, if only our listeners could see what's going on right now. But anyway, so I mean, I think the reason why Legendary has just absolutely knocked out of the park, and there's people who don't like Legendary films. But again, we've talked about how the Godzilla fan base is just worse than the Star Wars fan base. Is you had the love from the top down. I mean, bringing on Yoshimitsu Banno for the 2014. I mean, rest in peace. I mean, he's passed away. For those who don't know who that is, that's who did Godzilla vs. Hedorah, the smog monster. Bringing those guys in from Toho as well.
Yeah.
It was love from the word go. And you can feel it through the whole, trilogy or quadrilogy, Kong included. So
feel it and see it. It's all there.
Yeah. This reminds me of a story. I don't know how prevalent it is to me, but that's what I think of Godzilla 98. And Godzilla 98 made a lot of money. It resurrected Godzilla in America. Okay, we have to give it credit for that. I don't know if you ever heard this story.
No, we don't.
Believe me, there is no way. I've said it before. Godzilla 98 gets credit for me for one thing. All that Trendmaster stuff, all that came from Godzilla 98.
I mean, that did do that. I will say that.
It did that. There was all kinds of merchandise. The VHSs that I never had heard of before, that I didn't know there was releases in Japanese of
the Heisei
Godzilla,
series,
Mothra,
right.
Heisei series. I didn't know anything. I knew about Godzilla 85. That's all I knew. It resurrected interest in Godzilla. That's why I give it credit for. And the reason I bring it up is because there's a story about, and maybe you guys have heard it, the Quiet Riot. Okay, they did Mental Health album back in the 80s, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, when they were making it, they recorded all these songs, and then the record company came to them and says, I want to do Come On Feel the Noise by Slade. And they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't feel it. So Kevin Dubrow actually sang that whole song way off key and just the worst thing he could put out. And it still made the album. It still made the top 10, and it still was successful, despite him not even trying. And that's what Godzilla 98 is to me. That money, it made money, it did all this stuff, but it's just the effort wasn't there. That's how I see 98.
So. Well, guys, we have reached the end of the Godzilla films for now, because we know there's more coming. Which, by the way, if you guys haven't, of course, Godzilla's birthday, Toho did a new short film That Godzilla versus Hedorah.
Oh, yeah.
They used the suits from Final Wars. It was like 5.5 minutes. It was awesome. It's absolutely amazing. I'll be putting it on the Plex soon. Because not only was it Godzilla's birthday, but it's also the 50th anniversary for Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, the movie. So it's kind of why there was a lot of Hedorah stuff going on for the Godzilla Day events and stuff. So check it out, of course. But we're at the end, and we didn't know what to do. So we finally talked over the last few weeks. Because we obviously want to continue giving you 2 shows a month, but we started this with Giant.
Are we going again? Here we go.
Okay. We started this with Giant Monsters, and we can't let that slow down. We decided. So there is a plethora of giant monster movies out there worldwide, aside from Godzilla. So we're going to continue to give you 2 episodes a month. And one will be a giant monster film, and then the other one will be just a holiday special or some other monster movie that we decide to pick on. So, of course,
to pick on.
This month, of course, we couldn't find a Thanksgiving one, so we'll be back in 2 weeks with Blue Monkey, who's probably. I was trying to think of a more ooey gooey movie. I know we've kind of stapled on Blue Monkey, but I went back and watched Ticks the other day. That is the ooeyest, gooeyest monster movie I've ever seen. Ticks was just nasty. But so we'll be back with Blue Monkey, great 80s movie. I will tell you all the story of how I first saw it, and yes, it does relate to Mark.
Mark, I tell you what.
Like most monster movies. But then next month, of course, we've got Christmas coming around the corner. But since we have no Godzilla movie, we're going to give you guys, since it's Christmas, we're loving, we're giving, we're going to give you a double feature for the first episode. And we're going to jump into Frankenstein Conquers the World, followed up right in the same episode with War of the Gargantuas, its sequel. 2 great monster movies from Toho that I think you guys will absolutely love. I know me and Ruben especially are big fans of War of the Gargantuas, which got played a lot in the 70s and 80s. Frankenstein Conquers the World, not so much. It was released here, but it's kind of gone a little more unknown, and most people who've seen War of the Gargantuas may not even know it's a sequel to Frankenstein Conquers the World. So we're going to give you a double feature first of next month because we feel extra loving and giving for Christmas. And then our Christmas episode is all because of Ruben and his absolute love for Phoebe Cates.
Yes.
We are doing Gremlins for Christmas this year. So
yeah, I want to see his stomp rating.
Gremlins 2, Phoebe Cates 10.
There you go.
It's going to be Ruben all the way. So, so we're excited about it. So we're going to continue to give you giant monster goodness, and then, of course, monster movies, month by month. And if you guys have any suggestions or want us to do one we may not have covered that you think is a good monster movie, get on the Facebook page, man. Let us know.
Hit us up.
We have got a massive library of monster movies we can review, but if there's one in particular you want to see us do, let us know. We'll be glad to do it. But
we will single that person out, too.
We will.
Yeah. Definitely.
We'll make sure.
Good or bad.
Let you know.
We'll let you know.
Hold on. But, so anybody is allowed to pick a movie except Justin McClane.
There we go.
Yeah. I just got, a lot of people say, I just got to stick my hand in that.
Oh man!
Time,
for those who are like, what are you talking about? Justin's a good buddy of ours. We love you, Justin, a ton. But he picked Colossal for one of ours, and we felt so bad for the listeners that we ended up having to throw an extra movie on that episode just for that movie.
And he is still paying the price.
He is, man. But, I think Mark enjoyed Ship of Monsters.
Thanks, Pete. Really appreciate that one.
I think it's time for Pete to pick another one, just for Mark. So, but so join us again in 2 weeks for Blue Monkey. This one's going to be a blast. This is probably one of my favorite 80s monster flicks. Super, super great. No, there is not a blue monkey in it, but that's what it's called. And then we'll be back next month with a lot of cool stuff.
Why did you just put that out there?
Just because now they got, because I guarantee you, if someone goes to try to look, what is this movie? If they find the VHS
Where's that
cover,
blue monkey at he's talking about?
Even
Where's
like
blue monkey?
I was talking about it upstairs. Sarah was asking me what shows we had coming up, and Gavin was in the room. And he's like, I want to watch it. I want to watch a movie about a blue monkey. I'm like, dude, there's no monkey in it.
There's no blue monkey.
Yeah, so I don't want to disappoint you, son, but it's not going to happen. So we're going to watch it. And then, of course, Christmas time, we'll be back in December for 2 episodes. We're going to give you just some extra gifts by doing a double feature of Frankenstein Conquers the World and War of the Gargantuas, and then celebrate Christmas with Gremlins and Phoebe Cates. And
there we go.
We may even wear Santa hats for that episode. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Santa hats. Ruben his will be special looking. I guarantee.
Yeah.
He'll find some way to incorporate Phoebe Cade on his
That's right.
Santa hat.
I will.
So, all right, guys. Well, y'all, thank you all so much. Again, if you haven't seen Godzilla vs. Kong, I really think everybody listening probably has. But if you haven't, go watch it. Amazing movie. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks for Blue Monkey. This is Sludge
and Mark.
You got Ruben in Texas.
Y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Night, y'all.
Buddy, now.
Come on!